Yeah, Wi-Fi 7, I think it's, obviously exciting for the industry. Going beyond that, it's also how do you actually take the wireless infrastructure that everyone deploys today and then unlock additional value? How do you actually build this idea of future-proof workplaces?
Where do you see things going? Because a concern I get from a lot of people is, David, I need to study this stuff. It's like drinking from a fire hydrant. There's so much to learn.
Yeah, I mean, I think we live in an age of abundance, but that's also scary. I mean, I don't know about you, but every single day, there's yet another thing that I feel like I have to add to my to-do list to learn.
Lawrence, I got to ask you, with all the automation and all the central management, the platform, etc., but especially with AI, a lot of people are concerned that they're not going to have a job anymore.
Yeah, I mean, look, I hear the fear, and I can understand it. I think the reality is if I think about every single technology shift, there's always a fear of job loss or job replacement. But I guess I'm more of an optimist.
Hey everyone, David Bombal back with a very special guest. Lawrence, welcome.
Great to be here, David.
So Lawrence, you're new to the channel. Tell us a bit about yourself, and then I'm going to hit you with some nasty questions.
Amazing. Well, my name's Lawrence. I look after the Cisco wireless and network platform business. It's great to be here.
Lawrence, can I push you a bit more on that? Give us a bit more of your background. That was very short.
Sure. I started my career out as an electrical engineer. Actually, I was an RFIC engineer. I used to design 10 gig CMOS optical transceivers. I designed...
You've got street cred now.
Yeah, I designed, some of the first 802.11 ABG, transceiver. So Wi-Fi is near and dear to my heart. But over time, I've obviously went from being an engineer to a product manager to a business leader.
So Lawrence, I'm going to hit you first with AI. I want to get to Wi-Fi as well. But I think there's so much hype about AI. A lot of people feel perhaps AI hallucinates. I don't really want hallucination on a network. I mean, I'm a grumpy old network engineer. I've been doing this for a long time. I don't want AI hallucinating and doing some weird configuration on my network. AI is in a lot of products, including a lot of the Cisco management products. So what's your take on that? Or, what do you say to that?
Are you saying you don't trust AI? I mean, come on. No, I mean, all jokes aside, look, the way that you feel is no different than what many other customers I talk to express to me. I think a big part of it is, there is we clearly are in the AI hype cycle, but I think what's real is that, this mega trend that we're seeing is going to impact all of us, many industries outside of ours. But I think when it comes to building AI and trust into the product, it starts with the foundation of hey, how do we make sure that we build trust over time, earn that trust? How do we build features so that there's explainability, that there's, a clear line of reasoning that people can understand, that there's actually a human in the loop? We have a lot of conversations where, hey, if we could build a system where it's completely hands-off, because that's what customers tell us they want. But then we explain how we might do that. They start getting worried, and they ultimately want that, but they want at least the human in the loop, at least today. So that's what we're doing when we approach the capabilities that we build.
So how do you stop the hallucinations? Is it with a RAG, or what are you guys doing in the back end?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously techniques like RAG. That's one of the techniques. But I think also just making sure that we actually train models that are very custom and specific to a domain. The Cisco learning model that we built here, a lot of this is built off well-grounded CCIE Cisco learning material to make sure that it is very much focused on the networking domain, so that we're not going out of bounds, so to speak.
So deployment of this stuff, in the real world, are customers using it? What's the feedback been of people that are actually using it? I mean, I can stand on the sidelines and shout about AI, but what are real customers' real deployments seeing?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is so we just went into public beta here at Cisco Live. And so before we're running, smaller private betas, I think the feedback has been interesting. I think a lot of it, to your earlier point, people don't want to just buy into the hype cycle. They want capabilities that meaningfully improve their workflows. So I'll give you a very concrete example. So one of the things that we built into their product, the network management platforms, is the ability to take auto packet captures based on anomalous conditions.
Yep.
We've had it in Catalyst Center. We brought it to Meraki platform. Now, the fact is, oftentimes, what I hear from customers is that, those with, deep networking expertise, the CCIEs of the world, they're harder to find.
Yes.
I know this is a topic near and dear to your heart, but the reality here is that, there's a skills gap shortage in the industry.
Yeah.
And so not only do we build capabilities like the auto packet capture, but build into the large language model, the AI system, the ability to query that packet capture to explain why something may be going wrong? What is our, best hypothesis based on all the data and telemetry that we have? That's an example of practical application of AI in our management platforms that customers actually appreciate.
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking the flip side, right? I can understand when I see like the AI canvas that Cisco announced, it's amazing. As a CCIE, perhaps you want to get your hands dirty, go into the CLI and the like, but someone who's new, it's so complex. There's so much complexity out there, trying to all these different systems. There's so much data. And I mean, that looks like it really simplifies things.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, think of it this way. Like, have you ever called a customer service line and you got transferred around? And every single time you get transferred, you have to re-explain from the beginning your problem. Well, that's the reality today for many of the troubleshooting scenarios where you actually have that multiplayer scenario. You don't want to start from zero, but you want a rich history of what has come before. And AI Canvas is a way to aggregate a lot of the learnings from earlier based on what others have done, so you could continue that troubleshooting workflow in a way that is much more collaborative than today.
Yeah, I mean, and also like you don't have to have all the skills. Like, I mean, not everyone can be a CCIE. And I mean, you're starting, if you've got people who are new to it, I think it's a great way to empower them, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So another like hard-hitting question perhaps is like Cisco over the years has perhaps been complex, but you've been on a journey now to simplify things and converge things. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I spent a lot of time on the road with our customers and partners. And I'll tell you that the funniest thing, and I'm sure you'll appreciate this, is the largest, most sophisticated enterprise customers in the world, what they're asking for from Cisco, it is no longer about individual features. Yes, there are feature requests. I'm not going to say that there aren't. But oftentimes what they're asking for is help us simplify the complexity that exists in our environment. The reality is like there's no such thing as a greenfield customer. Every customer in this day and age, they have some type of infrastructure that they've invested in over time. Hopefully it's ours. But the reality is that even if it's just Cisco infrastructure, it's not necessarily all the same thing across their managed estate.
Yeah.
And so what they're looking for from partners and vendors like Cisco is to take the powerful technology that we developed over decades and make it in such a way that it's actually consumable, that they actually get value out of it without spending a lot of time, energy, and effort. And so to that end, a lot of the work we've been doing over the past few years is massively simplifying the portfolio from the management to the hardware to the licensing for how you consume products here. So maybe I'll just give you a couple concrete examples.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So from a hardware perspective, we used to make customers have make a choice.
Yeah.
If you want a cloud management, you chose a Meraki branded hardware. If you want on-prem, you chose Catalyst.
Yep.
With Wi-Fi 7, one of the things that surprises our customers is we didn't call it Catalyst, we didn't call it Meraki, it's Cisco Wireless. With our secure routers that we just announced here at Cisco Live, with our smart switches, these are Cisco branded devices, not Catalyst, not Meraki here. Going one step further, it's also the same license for these products, no matter which operating model you want, whether it's cloud, on-prem, or everywhere in between. It includes things like embedded support. And then you think about like the management layer, this is really where the complexity lives today. How do you start building capabilities where you can build once and then give that benefit to our customers? That wasn't always a mindset before. And so we are really embracing that mindset top to bottom in the product development organization, so we can actually deliver that type of experience, whether it is things around the AI assistant, AI canvas, or other innovations that we'll come out with in the coming months and quarters.
I love that. I mean, it rather than having Meraki, having Catalyst, and all these different management systems, you've been on this journey to make a platform. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think the name of the game is like, what exactly is the value for our customers? It's not the Lego pieces. It's how the Lego pieces get assembled. It's the opinionated expression of that in a way that hopefully makes it much more intuitive, much more simple for our customers to adopt technology. Because again, going back to the feedback, our customers, they're struggling with complexity. They are spending more time than they want to, even though their organizations are expecting them to deliver more value and to do it with less.
Yeah.
So we believe that platform-centric approach is the right way to deliver that value that they so desperately want.
What about security?
I mean, security, right? It's one thing where, if I look at what our strategy is, infusing security into the network, this has to be our approach here. Like, we solved great connectivity ages ago, but security continues to be an ever-moving goalpost. Like, we see that, with the rise of, and proliferation of AI tools, what you expect to, from security solutions that continues to evolve. You heard the term vibe coding, I assume?
Yep. Well, tell us what it's about.
Yeah,
assume
vibe
that I don't know
coding,
what it is.
Yeah, just using large language models to be able to write software. It democratizes software development for more people. That's incredible. But there's also vibe hacking, using these same tools to be able to essentially wreak havoc in any organization. So you have to continue to evolve the tools for the enterprise to secure not only against traditional threats, but the evolving ones that are coming down the pipeline here.
Yeah, I mean, there's a constant concern with the security and the hacking. A lot of the people who watch like pen testing, like ethical hacking, and it's nice to do that ethically, but it's a concern for every company out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you something else. Like we think about this like going beyond just like the state of the art today. Like we know that this in the security space, post quantum compute is not too far on the horizon. So with these new products, with these new technologies, we're also thinking, how do we secure against a future unknown? And so building products that are PQC ready. This is something where our customers may not be thinking about it today, but I guarantee you in the not too distant future, it's going to be a top concern as well.
Wi-Fi, obviously everyone has to deal with it, love it or hate it. Wi-Fi 7, any new updates, anything you can share about where we're going with Wi-Fi?
Yeah, Wi-Fi 7, I think it's, obviously exciting for the industry. But, beyond the standard, hey, it's faster, it's more secure, it's more reliable, all those things customers expect. But we wanted to take it further. I talked about how we're bringing together the portfolio. Obviously, we did this with Wi-Fi 7. But going beyond that, it's also how do you actually take the wireless infrastructure that everyone deploys today and then unlock additional value? How do you actually build this idea of future-proof workplaces? How do you actually take a wireless access point and turning it as a gateway to securely connect IoT sensors to unlock use cases like occupancy, detection? How do you actually, start doing things like intelligent wayfinding around a space, like at a, big conference like Cisco Live? These are things that, we're taking the Cisco Spaces technology, integrating it deeply into our networking portfolio, such as with wireless, to allow our customers to unlock these type of use cases that, quite frankly, are much harder to do because they would have to cobble it together with other solutions and much more expensive.
Love routers, CCIE routing is in my heart. What's happening with routing?
Yeah, we announced our new secure routers, and as you would expect, PQC ready, faster, more secure, all the good things that you would expect. But I think beyond that, a big focus of ours is thinking about how do you actually scale, especially in the branch environment. So a big part of this launch is talking about the unified branch. This isn't just about creating templates. It's not just about going to each device and managing it one by one, but it's really taking modern software development practices, applying it to infrastructure as code, leveraging the modern API endpoints that we're building with each of the new capabilities that we release, and letting our customers essentially embrace a DevOps model if they so choose, or they can use services from CX or other partners to really embrace CI/CD development practices here.
Where do you see things going? Because a concern I get from a lot of people is, David, I need to study this stuff. It's like drinking from a fire hydrant. There's so much to learn.
Yeah, I mean, I think we live in an age of abundance, but that's also scary. I mean, I don't know about you, but every single day, there's yet another thing that I feel like I have to add to my to-do list to learn. But I think like the reality is that, some of the fundamentals still apply, like understanding networking, how it works. That's still going to be important, even if there's more automation. But I think increasingly learning about, how to embrace, modern software development tools, augmenting that with the AI capabilities that we're bringing, I think that's really the course and direction where the industry is heading. Really, taking these things that used to be independent pieces and think of it from a platform level perspective here.
I love that you're simplifying things, making it easier to manage, that you like Meraki and Catalysts are now the same, if you like, that it's not, I have to have a product for this and a product for this, a solution for each. I'm really glad to see that you're going on that journey. So I assume there's going to be more of that, more AI, more tools to make it easier to manage.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's not just for the carpeted enterprise. I think that, the way we think about our customer base is we have a rich and diverse customer base across all different industries, as you know. But the struggle here, especially for those customers that have applications and needs in the industrial segment, we want to be able to continue to extend the innovation, not only for the carpeted enterprise, but also for the industrial segment with the same security policies, the same AI innovations, because that space, if anything else, actually AI is actually much more meaningful. If anything, if you think about, the rise of robotics and the proliferation of that,
Yep.
that's coming very fast and it's already here.
Yeah, I mean, ruggedized devices, that whole OT stuff is really important. It's a whole new industry that, is ripe for Cisco making changes in that industry.
Yeah, one thing we didn't talk about though is like we, as part of this launch, we wanted to take our, ultra reliable wireless backhaul technology that we had in our industrial IoT portfolio and bring it into the same Wi-Fi 7 access points. So now, using the same hardware, not separate hardware, you can operate it in traditional Wi-Fi mode or curve mode. This is something that I think our customers are going to love. Again, it's about infrastructure simplification to solve a plethora of different use cases out there.
Humanoids, robotics is on the horizon. I'm assuming a lot of those devices are going to be connected to Wi-Fi, but there's issues like if those devices need low latency, how's Wi-Fi going to solve that, or how are you going to solve that with Wi-Fi?
Yeah, it's not just about low latency, but it's also things like layer 3 roaming. And like if you go back to this idea of simplifying complexity, we have a lot of customers that love our 9800 controllers, the wireless LAN controllers, but they also want to move more towards a cloud management model. And so as part of this, one of the things that we're releasing, we call it the Cisco Campus Gateway. You think of it as a lightweight edge device here that essentially tunnels traffic for that layer 3 roaming use case for fast layer 3 roaming that's reliable in a wireless environment where you can cloud manage your infrastructure. These are things that we're continuing to bring out to customers who want more simplification from what they have today.
So I've interviewed Joe from ThousandEyes a few times.
Joe's great.
Great guy, great product. Can you tell us a bit more about ThousandEyes and how it's being integrated into, say, all these things that you've been talking about?
Yeah, look, ThousandEyes, it's an incredible technology. Many of our customers love it. But I think the feedback, if anything that's negative, is that, hey, it feels like it sits apart. And so we want to make sure that as we continue bringing together our platforms, that when we think about capabilities around assurance, right? Assurance is basically a guarantee of an outcome. We want to take the assurance view so that's much broader than a single domain like wireless. Because how many times does someone blame the wireless network when in fact it's an issue upstream from that? So with ThousandEyes, we're embedding into more devices, switches, routers, access points, and we're extending the ThousandEyes visibility into our assurance tools in the networking domain. So this means our customers have greater visibility than they ever had before, and we're investing in such a way that makes it much faster to pinpoint issues so they can remediate and get the insights into what the root cause of that issue is. And ThousandEyes is a big part of the strategy here.
Lawrence, I got to ask you, with all the automation and all the central management, the platform, etc., but especially with AI, a lot of people are concerned that they're not going to have a job anymore.
Yeah, I mean, look, I hear the fear, and I can understand it. I think the reality is if I think about every single technology shift, there's always a fear of job loss or job replacement. But I guess I'm more of an optimist. I think that the future is actually much brighter, and I think the value of humans actually become more critical than ever. It's not simply being a human in the loop for what we are hearing and building into our products today, but it's about taking the critical thinking, the creative thinking. If you think about AI, it's really powerful, but quite frankly, it doesn't have the context window to really understand political dynamics, organization dynamics, things that you can't codify and train AI models on. And ultimately, humans have to be really good at that kind of stuff. And understanding how humans can be used to shift or deal with dynamic policies and shifts in priorities, that's something that AI is not going to be great at.
Lawrence, is there anything else you want to tell us? Anything that I've missed?
No surprise. You've been hearing about the convergence investments that we're making. This is also applying to routing and SD-WAN. Last year we talked about how we're creating capabilities to unify the SD-WAN fabrics across Calus SD-WAN and Meraki. We're continuing that journey as we think about how SD-WAN evolves into a SASE architecture with Cisco Secure Access. You look at capabilities like cloud managed SASE. Well, Secure Access is going to be the underlying foundation for that. That's something where we're committed to continue to drive that unification strategy. When it comes to routing, making sure that routing is a first-class citizen that can be cloud managed as well. That we didn't talk about this in depth here. This is a course and speed that we're going to continue on as well.
Lawrence, I've heard this term global area network. What is that?
You think about like what's happened, especially, post-COVID. What is the office? How would you define it? Like, where is the workplace? It's anywhere that work gets done. It's no longer just about your traditional campus and branches. It's your home office, the small branch office, which holds a couple salespeople, to your large manufacturing sites, to mining sites. Work is prevalent everywhere. But ultimately, the idea behind the global area network is that your critical infrastructure, the services and applications that you have to deliver for that end user experience, it's not only over infrastructure that you own, it's over infrastructure that you own as well as infrastructure you don't own. And going back to this idea of like the importance of our ThousandEyes strategy as part of how we provide that visibility deep into that digital supply chain, that's really where our assurance strategy comes into play here.
I got to ask you this. It's nice to talk about stuff that's happened in the past and like stuff that's being announced. But where do you see where are we going? I mean, I'm assuming Wi-Fi is going to get faster, but your speeds are going to increase, feeds are going to increase, etc. But like anything that you can share about where we going?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's no surprise that, from our perspective, and hopefully customers see this too, the pace of innovation from Cisco hopefully feels very different this year. And what I would expect to see from Cisco is that it's only going to accelerate in the coming years. And a big part of it is executing on bringing together that platform strategy across more than just networking, security, but into observability, into collaboration. It's about how we actually continue to extend the AI and automation capabilities so that there is more hands-off automation that is available to all our customers today. Again, we have to, build trust over time. Trust is earned, it's not given. But I think course and speed, that is really where we're heading here. At Cisco, we've been talking about the One Cisco strategy here. And it really is focused on delivering the big customer outcomes, AI-ready data centers, digital resilience across that complex digital supply chain, and of course, future-proof workplaces. Future-proof workplaces is really a recognition that work happens anywhere. It isn't just about, one single domain. It's about how you stitch together multiple domains across networking, security, and others, and bring it together into a cohesive, AI-first, platform-centric way that we believe is the unlock for our customers in terms of how they will be successful not only now, but well into the future here.
Lawrence, you were talking about how you designed this stuff, like when you were younger, but you haven't spoken a lot about like individual APs, because I mean, I've been in the game a long time as well. I remember the days of like configuring individual autonomous APs, and a lot of people watching perhaps have Wi-Fi at home. And I mean, for a lot of guys, it might be that they have a Wi-Fi router at home, and that's their perception of Wi-Fi. But I'm assuming it's actually different in large environments.
Oh, absolutely. Look, I think it's no surprise that, Cisco builds incredible hardware products across the board here. Wi-Fi is no exception. But if you think about what's happened in the industry, it's just a baseline expectation. People expect you to build great hardware.
Yeah.
And really where the challenge and the value lies is how do you actually build more assurance capabilities beyond a single domain? How do you actually go, deliver on visibility that spans across that owned and unknown infrastructure? How do you actually build AI into the experience where it's seamless? Our AI-powered radio resource management, it's a mouthful, but it's actually incredible technology. It's personalized to your environment. It understands context about your specific environment, even if you have different deployments, and optimizes the RF and radio powers accordingly here. These are things that we've been building into our solution. And when you go back to this idea of, how are we actually approaching this as Cisco from a platform-centric view, that's a great example where we're building once and bringing it across all our customer operating models, from traditional wireless LAN controllers to Catalyst Center to Meraki here.
So on the Wi-Fi, I've heard this term Cisco Spaces. What is that? What has that got to do with Wi-Fi?
Yeah, look, Cisco Spaces, it's a great technology that many of our customers love. It's basically a technology that, historically has stood alone, but it interacts with infrastructure where it acts as a middleware layer. But what that allows you to do is to unlock different use cases. I want to understand the occupancy as a physical space. I want to be able to, understand the sensors in a given space for use cases like infant protection tracking. But, these are things that we don't want it to stand alone. We want to integrate it much more deeply into our Wi-Fi technology. So starting with Wi-Fi 7, rather than having Spaces as a complete standalone solution, we started integrating those capabilities into our Wi-Fi portfolio, which I think is highly differentiated. So that means our customers can unlock these additional use cases, valuable use cases, with less infrastructure than they would have had before here.
Lawrence, a lot of people who watch my videos know I've done many videos like how to hack Wi-Fi with a phone, how to hack Wi-Fi with a Raspberry Pi or whatever. A lot of people know that you can do that quite easily with WPA2, especially if the password's not great. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't have good passwords these days. But I'm assuming in the enterprise especially, a lot of people are going to be using WPA3. Is that right? Is that what best practice is, or the issues doing that in today's world?
Yeah, I mean, I think course and speed, yes. But like the reality is that, as you've seen and as you know, there's a lot of different devices in a modern enterprise, and many of these devices don't support WPA3. And so our approach here is to build in essentially a WPA transition mode to support both Wi-Fi 7 and non-Wi-Fi 7 devices. But not all vendors are taking that approach, so it's going to take time for adoption. But course and speed, yes, it is a better security protocol than WPA2.
So, I mean, what are you finding in the real world? Are customers putting like the older devices on is it a separate AP, a different radio? How are they doing that? Because obviously there's legacy devices and IoT devices that wouldn't support WPA3 as an example.
Yeah, I don't think that, we have the industry's starting the transition to Wi-Fi 7. So I wouldn't say there's a best practice yet, but we've seen a variety of things that customers are doing. Some of it is simply, hey, we're going to try your WPA transition mode. Others are looking at, hey, maybe we do want separate SSIDs for these type of devices. So still early days, but I think next time we have a conversation, we'll have a lot more data.
That's good. I'll hold you to that.
Yeah.